Hello, future educators. Today, we are given the chance to discuss the 15 learning theories in education. Our group are tasked to make discussion between layered sensory theory, Skinner's behaviorist theory, Rogers' humanist theory, Cantor's theory of assertive discipline, and last but not the least, Dirkhart's classroom management theory. So let's start with layered sensory theory. In 1985, Dugan Laird stated in his book entitled Approaches to Training and Development that learning occurs when the senses are stimulated. This theory says that learning was 75% obtained by seeing, 13% was through hearing, and the remaining 12% was learned through touch, smell, and taste combined. As a student, I definitely agree with this because I am one of those learners who can learn when there is something I see, like visual aids or visual prompts. And I also believe in the saying that to see is to believe, aside from our almighty God. So layered sensory theory is somehow relatable for almost everybody. For instance, you want to learn in how to write straightly in a piece of bond paper, yet you can't see. Imagine how difficult it was to follow instruction through hearing and can't say anything. Yet, some people who are given the chance, ay, yet some people who are not given the chance to see the beauty of this world lies their learning and hearing, touching, smelling, and tasting, which is very inspirational. It only implies that it is up to us and how we are going to enhance our skills and learn. Imperfections won't matter. Motivation does. To continue the discussion, may I call in Miss Jessalia N.
Good day, everyone. Today, Mr. Alan, Dane, Gamo, and I are going to talk about Skinner's theory, which is the theory of learning, operant conditioning. But before that, I would like to drop some personal background of Borjas Frederick Skinner. Borjas Frederick Skinner was born on March 20, 1904 at Susquehanna, Pennsylvania, States of America, and died on August 18, 1990 at Cambridge, Massachusetts, USA. He was an American psychologist, behaviorist, author, inventor, and social philosopher. He was a professor of psychology at Harvard University from 1958 until his retirement in 1974. His sibling was Edward Skinner's spouse was Evan Blue from 1936 until 1990. Now, let's move on to his theory. Skinner studied operant conditioning and believed in radical behaviorism. So now, what is operant conditioning? What it is all about? Okay, operant conditioning, sometimes referred to as instrumental conditioning, is a method of learning that uses rewards and punishment to modify behavior. Through operant conditioning, behavior that is rewarded is likely to be repeated, and behavior that is punished will rarely occur. So it is a vivid explanation, right? Na if ang usa ka gawain sa tao is maayo, of course, people are going to appreciate you. Your appreciation can be saying like, thank you, you're amazing, you're so cool, and many more to mention. Ang uban sad, gawas sa inyong kanilang mga nindot na words, ilasal kang Tagalog mga gusto nimo, especially if parents na nimo. Right? Tama, yung manimo gibuhat, of course, expected na jud ang mga ingon ana nga panghitabo. Kung nagbuhat sa kag dili maayo or dili gusto sa tao nga nagpalibot nimo, obvious na po ng punishment imong ma-receive. Kung sige kag kadawat og reward, ikaw sa imong kaugalingon ganahan na dayon og buhat og mga maayo nga butang. Sin ka feel nimo nga ay dinhi ka appreciate ko nila. So mag-continue kag buhat ato nga mga butang. On the other hand, if sige pod kag receive og punishment, of course, worry na ka sa imong mga next move o galikayan na nimo siya nga dili mautro in order for you to avoid the said punishment, right? In operant conditioning theory, there are essentially 4 quadrants: positive reinforcement, positive punishment, and negative reinforcement and negative punishment. Basta na siya, positive reinforcement equals to positive punishment, negative reinforcement equals to negative punishment? No. Lahi-lahi sila. When you say positive reinforcement, something is added to the mix that makes the behavior more likely to continue or reoccur. A pleasant consequence is introduced to the subject to encourage their behavior. For example, a father providing his child with a piece of candy for picking up his toys. So kamaayo man nagibuhat sa bata, nakareceive siya appreciation from his dad. Ingon ana ang positive reinforcement. When you do something nga ganahan ang tao, murag hatagan ka nila pahalipay, something like that. Something like, na-appreciate ka nila pinaagi sa ilang gihatag sa imuha. Okay, let's move on to positive punishment. Something is added to the mix that makes the behavior less likely to continue or reoccur. An unpleasant consequence is introduced to the subject to discourage their behavior. For example, adding more chores to the list when your child neglect their responsibilities. Pag maghinaplo ang bata, mas palalaon pa ang trabaho aron makakaton ug ma-realize nila ang buhaton ng angay nila buhaton in order for them to learn and avoid the positive punishment. Right? So negative reinforcement. Dinhi, something is taken away from the mix that makes the behavior more likely to continue or reoccur. Something unpleasant is removed from the subject to encourage their behavior. So, for example, studying for an exam to avoid getting poor grades. Anong negative mo na siya? Positive alang mag-study ka to avoid low grades? Well, negative doesn't always mean bad, right? Negative reinforcement na siya tungod ka instead of chilling, nag-study siya para lang ma-achieve ang gina-aim na grades. Instead of nag-happy-happy, mas gipili niya mag-suffer. Or after ay hada na yun mag-relax, right? Suffer now, enjoy later, something like that. Last, the negative punishment. Something is taken away from the mix that makes the behavior less likely to continue or reoccur. Something pleasant is removed from the subject to discourage their behavior. For example, taking the student's phone or tablet because of improper use during the class. So para makafocus ang bata, kailangan needed kayo bawiin ng gadget para makafocus siya sa klase o maka-obtain pa og more knowledge. Now, let's proceed to radical behaviorism. Mr. Dane, go on.
Radical behaviorism was also a theory developed by Beef Skinner. In the mid-20th century, psychologist Beef Skinner introduced a new idea, radical behaviorism. In his radical behaviorism definition, he argued that a person's behavior and the environmental factors that influence it are much more crucial to the fundamental understanding of a person's psychological state. So, simple definition of the radical behaviorism is a thoroughgoing form of behaviorism that attempts to understand all human behaviors, including private events such as thoughts and feelings, in terms of controlling variables in the history of the person, which is in biology term, it is the ontogeny, and the species, which is phylogeny. First off, behavior. Behavior is everything that we do in living, breathing, and functioning organism. Everything that we do, even non-human animals are included. To explain radical behaviorism, I will be making a scenario that will fully explain or cover up the concept of radical behaviorism. Let's say you ask yourself why someone or this person didn't call you back, or this date of yours stopped speaking to you. This ghosting effect can be explained in different ways, but a radical behaviorist would ask questions and gain insight through practical data that help better understand. So is there some sort of event that happened that is keep a person from responding back to you? Is it because their phone is on silent? Is it because they found someone new that can fulfill their interest in a different way than you? This sort of question would be asked, looked, and measured. As a result, a more thorough understanding would come about the contradicts otherwise held Approaches like trying to understand someone else's mind or assuming without tangible and sort of looking for answers that aren't rooted in a ways that include the environmental variables. So, in simple terms, radical behaviorist does not jump to conclusion or assume things, but they base on empirical data or verifiable by observation or experience rather than theory or pure logic. That is all for radical behaviorism. Next reporter, please.
Carl Rogers' humanist theory, developed by American psychologist Carl Rogers in 1980s. Facilitative learning is a humanistic approach to learning. One example is humanism. Humanism was developed to contrast cognitivism and behaviorism. Both Rogers and Maslow based their work in humanism. The key perspective of humanisms are as follows. People have a natural desire to learn in order to achieve self-actualization. It is not the outcome that is the most important part of education. It is the process of learning itself. The students themselves should be in control of their learning, and it should be achieved through observing and exploring. The teacher should be an encouraging role model, motivating, guiding, and supporting students as their own personal journey. So when we talk about humanism, it's not all about the hardship. It's not all about the process. It's about the process. It's about the learning itself. We can't say that it is too hard because we are treating it as a experience. We want something from it. We want to learn from it. So that's why it's important. That's why humanism should work with cognitivism and behaviorism. So to further discuss this topic, may I call on the next reporter?
Facilitative learning. Rogers viewed the teacher as a facilitator to learning rather than just a conveyor of knowledge. The success of the teacher is in their ability to build positive relationships with the students. Rogers proposed 3 attitudinal core characteristics that a teacher should possess for facilitative learning to be successful. Number 1, realness. The teacher should be themselves use their own personality when teaching. Being real with students breeds an ethos of trust between students and a teacher. The teacher should be able to convey their feelings rather than just being monochromatic robot. Praising, accepting, and trusting. A teacher should care about their students and accept their feelings, regardless of whether they assist or detract from learning. Through these characteristics, deeper trust and respect is built. Empathy, understanding the student's perception of learning and their feelings. Next reporter, please.
The effectiveness of facilitative learning also requires certain traits to be present in the student. They should be motivated. It provides you with goals to work towards, help you solve problems, help you change old habits. Aware of the facilitative conditions, they have been provided with and aware that the task they have been given is useful. Realistic and relevant. Realistic refers to something that can be done given the available resources. Relevance ensures the goal is in line with a bigger picture and vision. If all these characteristics are present then, in the words of Rogers himself, learning becomes life, and a very vital life at that. The student is on his way, sometimes excitedly, sometimes reluctantly, to become a learning, changing being. Now let's proceed to the next reporter.
Hello everyone, I am Charles David Duck, and I'm going to be discussing about Cantor's theory. So Cantor's theory of assertive discipline Assertive discipline is a structured system to enable teachers to manage their classrooms. It focuses on the teacher developing a positive behavior management strategy rather than being dictatorial. So what does dictatorial mean? Ang meaning anak niya is a person who has authority or power sa isa ka area or lugar, tapos dili siya mo consider sa feelings o opinion sa mga tao na naaanak na lugar or area. So, for example, si teacher, naghatag og project tas deadline kay 2 days lang. Tapos kato siya na project is kailangan 2 weeks aya mahuman. So, reklamo din mga students na pwede i-extend ang deadline. But the teacher, being a dictator, dili siya mo consider tas dapat anak yun na day, anak yun na deadline mapasa gyud. But kana siya na example, dili na siya may tabo sa theory of assertive discipline. Ikani siya na theory kaya nag-focus na siya sa kung unsaon o disiplina sa teacher ang iyang students with the ways na dili ma-invalidate ang feeling o opinions sa iyang students. So to continue the discussion of this theory, let me call Mr. Delos Reyes.
So, good evening, everyone. Cantor's proposition is that the teacher has the right to decide what is best for their students and that no student should prevent any other from learning. So, Cantor's proposition is a structured system to enable teachers to manage their classrooms. It focuses on the teacher developing a positive behavior management strategy rather than being dictatorial. Cantor's proposition is that the teacher has the right to decide what is best for their students and that no student should prevent any other from learning. The teacher should very clear boundaries as to how they expect their students to behave and work. The students should know that these boundaries are and any deviation should be met with an assertive action from the teacher that is right to decide what is best for his or her students. Teachers should determine what is best for all students and then expect compliance. They must be consistently assertive in their wants and expected behavior in the classroom. So that would be all about my part. Thank you.
So in continuation, methods of assertive discipline. So first one is make the rules very clear and don't be ambiguous. So the first one is that don't provide rules vaguely and make instructions clear as much as possible, as this helps the students to clearly ride on the right path than having doubts about which is which to do or to choose or to learn on something. So the second one is recognize when students behave correctly and praise. So the second one is that giving praises gives motivations to the students to do more and do better while feeling good about themselves. So as much as possible, recognizing good outputs from your students is a must to encourage them and motivate them to do better. And the third one is be specific when praising students. Make sure they know they know why they are being praised. So it's clear on the statement that you should be specific and not only praise about something that is not important or something that's not relevant. Okay, so the fourth one is that reward exceptional behavior. So the number four goes with the number two. They are almost identical, as gifts could also uh, gives motivation to the students and make them feel better to do more and try their best as much as possible. So number five, be clear of the consequences of bad behavior. So never be lenient with your students. Be a good teacher and be appreciative. Be kind, uh, but never and never be tolerant of their bad behaviors. Never ever consider anything that they do that is not applicable to any types of learning, and that might cause harm to them, to themselves, or to the other students as well. So never and never be lenient with your students, but be a good teacher. Being a good teacher doesn't mean that you have to tolerate everything. So that's the methods of assertive discipline. So next reporter, please.
So for today's discussion, we'll be discussing the Draker's theory. So Miss Cindy Panis, please introduce to us the Draker's theory.
Okay, so Rodolph Draper proposed the theory that mutual respect should be the basis for discipline, and that this mutual respect motivates learners to display positive behaviors. So Rodolph Draper's believed that discipline is based on mutual respect, which motivates students to behave constructively because of their high sense of social interest. Draper's believe that all humans have a primary need to belong and feel part of a group. Draper's also believe that all students desire to feel they have value and to feel they can contribute to the classroom. Draper's called this need to belong to the genuine goal of human social behavior. He said that when students are not able to gain their genuine goal of belonging, they turn to a series of mistaken goals. Mistaken goals are defined as attention, power, revenge, and inadequacy. This is when students misbehave. The mistaken goals are listed in order of difficulty to track. If the student fails to achieve the amount of recognition they desire, then they travel into the next stage. Students who do not have a sense of belonging attempt to gain attention from peers and the teacher. When students are not satisfied with their attempt of gaining attention, they often seek power by refusing to do what the teacher asks. When students attempt to seek power, they may seek revenge through behaviors such as defacing property, cheating, or spreading lies. When all else fails, students may display inadequacy by withdrawing and refusing to participate in classroom activities. Only a few people investigate the condition present in particular situations. We make assumptions and believe that these assumptions are true. Human beings will have a need to belong and be accepted. When a student is unsuccessful in obtaining acceptance, a pattern of misbehavior begins. All misbehavior is the result of a child's mistaken assumption about how to find a place and gain stuff. So that's all for Rodolph Draper's theory about the discipline. So the next reporter.
Okay, Draper believed that students have an innate desire to feel like an accepted member of a group and to feel like they have value and confidence to contribute to fine group. Draper called his desire to belong the genuine goal of social behavior. So when we say innate, inborn, nga desire nato sa atong kuan, like para bitaw mabilong ta sa usa ka peer or usa ka group, willing ta nga mag kuan magbuhat sa unsay angay buhaton para lang mabilong taan nga group. That's why nga ginatawag ni Draper ang kaning Draper's theory nga this desire ay the desire to belong like genuine goal of social behavior. So I think that's all. Next reporter, please.
Okay, so good evening everyone. Spirit speaking. So in continuation, the genuine goal of social behavior is based on the notion that everyone wants to fit in. So it's a natural instinct as students nga mag-seek og acceptance or sense of belonging
gikan sa ilang mga classmates ug uban pa mga tao nga kanunay nila ma-interact sulod sa eskwelahan. So kini nga theory is related sa social psychology na naga-focus sa influence sa community or society sa behavior sa mga tao. So Draker strongly believes that achieving the said goal is the key to success in classroom management. Kung ang isa ka estudyante ma-feel niya nga accepted siya sa kung asa siya nga group na belong, there is a likelihood nga positive or maayo ang epekto ana sa iyahang behavior sulod sa eskwelahan. Like, more siya ma-reflect sa batasan sa student kung na-achieve ba na niya ang ginatawag na genuine goal of behavior. So that would be all for my part. Next reporter, please.
So, I will be introducing to you the Record's 4 goals of misbehavior. The first goal is gain attention. The second one is gain power and control. The third one is gain revenge. And the fourth one is display feelings of inadequacy. So, how to combat the 4 goals of misbehavior? First one is gain attention. So gain attention, ignore the attention of seeking and use positive reinforcement. When we say positive reinforcement, this is a positive behavior that was shown to our students. So just like example, if manugo ka sa imong student, pwede ka mag-ingon nga, please, could you hand out the books like that para makakuan sila nga ang teacher po napod siya inana nga behavior ma-adapt din siya sa student. So the second goals of misbehavior would be presented by the next reporter.
Okay, gain power and control. So gain power and control is focus on all the good behavior in the class while ignoring the attempt to gain power. And no account should you engage in a battle for power. So I guess that's all na lang yun. Sorry.
Okay, gain revenge. So remember that the student is trying to gain a sense of belonging and try this revenge. Seeking is a masked attempt to gain it. So according to Dreckers, did not believe in the use of punishment, reinforcement, or praise. Instead, he believes that natural or logical consequences in the process of encouragement are the most useful techniques for preventing discipline problems. So, and also, encouragement is more important than any other aspect of child raising because a misbehaving child is a discouraged child. Encouragement also corresponds so well to children's goals. Children seek approval and encouragement is a legitimate way to do it. It also focuses on effort rather than achievement, so it gives positive feedback to children who are trying hard but may be unsuccessful. Encouragement also motivates them to continue trying. The praise is very different from encouragement. It focuses on the level of achievement. Okay, that's all. The next reporter.
Display feelings of inadequacy. At this stage, the student has given up on themselves. This stage will manifest the form of not doing, like for example, not doing homework and not participating in class. Well, kanin siya ang klase nga estudyante is taplanon ni siya. Well, based on my observation way back in my high school days, sana sa kuan ni sa estudyante nga, kuan ha, tapulan, and always mag-give up sa tanan buluhaton bitaw. In every student, sometimes we see avoidance. Whenever it is avoidance of going into a circle of getting in line, the mistaken belief, as I see, students will always wanted to give up. This is very rare to us, especially as a students. Soon kay kita, future educator man ta, if maka-encounter ta sa kasadyante nga taplanon, kanang always remember nga natay code for this ha, nga dili ta mo give up sa ilaha, or maghatag-tag step by step na procedure for them nga ma-encourage nimo sila and focusing on the direction of growth moving forward para mas madali nilang masabtan o dili sila mahimong tapulan.
So that is all for our report. Thank you for listening.